was like, that wall is crowning, Billy. What is happening?
Well, it was definitely pulling all the Geiger.
Welcome to Stubs with Jason. Hey people, welcome to Stubs with Jason, where I continue to review all kinds of things on all kinds of screens. This week we are diving into Alien Romulus, a 20th Century Fox / Disney movie that looks like it's going to clear $100 million worldwide in its opening weekend. Looks like it's doing okay with both audience and critic scores. I'm going to keep things brief. I have recorded a small roundtable that I did after watching this movie with a couple of Alien fans. And I gotta say, going back and listening, one part of me is like, you can listen to this with no problem, because it doesn't feel like we ever really lay the whole movie out or spoil it beat by beat by any stretch of the imagination. And I'd even go a step further in saying, like, I don't even know if it really even matters if somebody tells you what happens in this movie. But I would say that if you want to go in completely unsullied, if you want to go in completely clean, then don't listen to this thing. So without further ado, I present to you 3 critical nerds. Get all your swears in, get it everything you... But like...
Aster cream.
You said... I didn't hate the design of yet another alien human crossover being that we were introduced to. Are we going to talk about...
We're going straight to the
end?
At the end. Is that what we're going straight to?
Did you hate it?
I did not like it.
Well, to me, it's a very... It acknowledges those... What are they called? The architect guys or whatever? The engineers.
Right, and that's the problem I had with it, though.
Go ahead.
So, So as explained in Prometheus, as I understood it, those engineers were the perfect beings, right? They came from space down to Earth.
Do we know that was Earth?
Well, as explained by Ridley Scott in the extras, yeah, I think so. So he introduced the black goo.
Right.
And he drank it, fell into the water, and that's what formed us.
That is right. That kicked off life on this planet.
That's what they're supposed to do, I guess? Is that they die to propagate a world?
That's what they did.
Yeah.
Is that right or wrong? I don't know. But so by that rationale, if I inject myself with black goo, how do I get the engineer out of it? Because the engineer was detached from the black goo.
They talk about these things having DNA memory.
Well, it's like they distilled it down to its source, I suppose.
They don't talk about it in this movie, but like in Alien, was it Resurrections or whatever?
Fourth. That's
where Ripley comes back from, right?
I got
that. That was the biggest thing that I couldn't take from this, that I was like, they literally just copied themselves again. We've seen this before.
The whole movie was
it's all retreads and nostalgia grabs and everything.
Jangling.
But the fact that they had to have a human alien hybrid again is really like,
how many times do I need that?
And the design just didn't really speak to me.
See, I didn't mind the design. I was like,
there was one particular design point that I was like, well, I'm surprised that they added that in.
Yeah, there were a couple of, as far as the...
I'm talking about the penis hole.
Yeah, the lower realm, the lower decks,
right.
you know. Yeah.
I didn't know what they were trying to do there, but there was one scene when you first see it, and it's in that hole, and it's shadowed, and you can't really see what you're seeing. I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then when they first rule of filmmaking is show, not tell.
Yeah.
Or... Tell, not show, whatever that is.
Right.
So then they show so much.
Yeah.
And it's like...
let my mind do the work here.
It ruined the effect for me. I just really didn't care. And like Trent said, we'd have already been down that road, and to go again, and the whole movie was just retread. The infamous line that took me out of the movie, and then, the fourth act,
Yeah.
Well, it's all there. She steps out of that elevator just like Ripley does.
Yeah, I was like,
She
how many
straps
fog
into the
machine?
space
More
suit.
fog
You know what's
machine.
gonna happen.
How many endings does this movie have?
Right.
That's what I kept asking myself. I was like, oh, we're still going. Okay.
But
all right.
You knew what was coming, and that's
You
part of
did.
the problem for me.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, here we go. I can see this is the fourth scene. This is Alien 1. We're gonna do this again, and are we actually gonna kick him out of the airlock? Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man,
and then you're disappointed again.
As a movie itself, there's a lot of problems, but lore-wise, like how it fits with the narrative that we've seen up until this point, I've got a lot of problems with things.
It seems to me, and I'm the casual, like I would say, you know what I mean, as far as, but to me, it seems like this is a movie. Honestly, I know you're probably gonna agree. Like, it feels like this was a movie that this director and somebody from Fox had written or whatever, and pitched, thrown it on a table or whatever.
Well,
and then Ridley Scott got brought in as far as like, well, he's the producer, and we've got it. And like,
Vet everything
Ridley
through
Scott
him.
had notes, and it was just like,
it almost
please
feels like
insert
two
this. And it's like,
separate-
oh
two
gosh,
separate
why?
movies
Right.
until they get to the
Hated
beginning
it.
of the third act. That's when Ridley Scott's influence comes in. And he's like, nope, throw Prometheus stuff at it. Like, it could have just stayed a normal Alien movie, but up
As soon as I saw the black goo, I was
Yeah.
like, oh no. I will say this. This wasn't a movie that I was like, I didn't hate it. Like, I wasn't miserable watching it, but I did nothing to engage. Like, I felt no engagement at all. The early parts, I did enjoy, like when you see the mining colony, you get to see a little bit of the world, the actual lived-in world and everything. I was like, all right, that's cool. I'm good with this, and the aesthetics being similar to things that I'm good with all of that, right? But then, to me, I was like, well, this is The Force Awakens, but for Alien.
I thought it was pretty bad. That was my biggest beef with this movie. I will say, you told me to take some notes because I have a really bad memory. Yeah. Production design was one of my likes.
Yeah.
The world felt lived in. I loved the machinery, the references to Mother felt like
Mother as an operating system, it seems.
they changed, which was neat. But I did like the production design. I thought that was cool. I didn't have a lot of likes though. For me, the elevator scene was another highlight. The whole
Gravity thing.
gravity, they're falling and shooting. I thought that aspect of movement was really
I just
cool.
thought the gravity thing in general was neat. Flying
It was
through the
interesting.
acid blood.
Yeah.
In 3D, if this came out in 3D, that might have been a cool scene.
Yeah, you really have to stretch your imagination on the acid blood thing because you just think about the minuscule droplets that are in
Sure,
the air at
sure.
at any given moment, and she's just kind of floating through them. Whatever, you just kind of gotta ignore all that. I'm gonna go through my likes.
Where
real
did the
quick.
bodies go?
Which bodies?
All of the xenomorph bodies that she had just shot up
Well,
to create all of that
sure,
acid,
sure.
where suddenly we're just in a hallway with floating acid, yet nothing else is in this
to
hallway
be fair,
anymore.
I didn't notice if they were still there, and like I said, my memory's so
It
poor.
could be like Aliens where they just explode entirely into chunks.
Well, they do.
There was not enough acid then for that situation. But that
Well-
was, so for my thing, I thought it was a pretty, like, okay, this is a unique,
was a
like,
cool
okay,
scene.
you
A
guys.
good set piece.
You had a good little piece.
It was at least
but
original.
I definitely was like, but where are those alien bodies? They just,
See, I didn't-
they
that-
just disappeared.
that's a good
They're
point.
gone.
I didn't
Plot
even think about
holes
it.
abound.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
again, it's
let
a
him
movie.
go through his
All right, go
likes.
ahead, go
The
through
other
your notes.
like
Yeah.
was I read that this had a $100 million budget. If that's accurate, that's amazing because we're talking about Disney shows that have $250 million budgets.
So the reason why was because it was shot in Budapest. So they
okay.
must have gotten some kind of tax write-off or something from
Hey,
shooting
however
there.
you can do it.
And then originally this was supposed to be a Hulu exclusive. It was not
What?
supposed to be in theaters.
I did not know that.
Well, it was after Prey. They kind of, if I
Right.
remember right,
Yeah.
it was like,
Wow.
okay, they thought maybe this is our lane, right,
holy
to kind
cow.
of
The
to
transition
re-energize all of that
before
and
the
that
20th
too.
century
Yeah.
sale. That was something that was far enough in production. They were like, we're just dumping on streaming.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's depressing. Anyway, no culture war stuff, which my antenna is always up for that. I really respected that none of that leaked into the movie.
Sure.
Of course, there's girl bossing. This is Aliens. This is the
Well,
home of girl bossing.
This is where it
Yeah.
starts. This
So-
is the template for it.
Yeah.
Other than I'd say Princess Leia, right?
Sure.
Like after that though, yeah.
I'm kinda
Ellen Ripley
Yeah,
is
sure. She's
the
the
prototype of this,
equivalent,
right?
or
Yeah.
her and Sarah Connor are
Sarah
the
Connor is good,
yeah.
originators of the badass heroine.
the original badass bees. Yeah.
My last one is, right in that vein, the main character development. Rain, I think her name was. Yep. When the movie started, I was like, okay, we've already went past spoilers, but the android was basically there to show you that the main character is sympathetic and that you're supposed to like her, right? Because all the other characters were hateable in every other conceivable way. But the android was there to make her grounded and for you to feel better about it.
She was the only one that wasn't selfish.
Yeah, and in the middle of the movie, I was thinking they're not doing enough to develop her character. But I will say, by the end of the movie, they developed her well. It's the same as Alien. It's the same plot, essentially.
Ripley is the same way.
Ripley,
She's not
in
the main character in the first one.
And you
Right.
don't know that, but that's part of it. Plus, they have all that world building to do in the first one, and they have a lot of explaining to do. So it's tough, right? You have to build all these characters, and you also have to build the world around it. But they did a good job, I thought. I will say that Rain, her acting really didn't do anything for me. I thought her development was good. The script around her was serviceable. She didn't really do anything for me.
Was she just-
She didn't have an edge,
Yeah.
for one. Ripley has an edge. Not that she's Ripley, and not that she has to be Ripley. But if you're in a hive of aliens and you're not aggressive in some manner, I wish I'd seen more.
How'd you feel about the actor doing Andy?
He had this expression on his furrowed brow through the whole movie. It was almost
it's
like
there.
a sympathetic,
Yeah, I think it's
confused.
intentional. It's got to be intentional.
If that guy
yeah.
on purpose
no.
tried for that,
That had to have been like an instruction he
People
received.
are lauding his performance. They love it.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
I didn't think it was that bad.
I didn't hate it, but that expression took me out. Okay, think of when he switches personalities, there should be a change. Now, he had a change in dialogue, but his facial expression never changed.
Should he go to the
would
Rock,
he?
one eyebrow up, one eyebrow down?
Just give me
Just
something,
go around
man.
giving them all the
Give
business.
Give me
a visual
something.
clue that he is.
No, I'm not saying that. Just this is a meaty role for him, and I don't. This is another beef I've had with all the modern Alien movies. Is the focus is on the androids now? It's on David in two movies.
I was going to ask you, like, because as this character, like, which again,
Right.
this is like Matt, the radar technician, meeting Kylo Ren. Like, as soon as this guy walks on screen, you're like, well, that's a robot.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't, but again,
I didn't know that at first.
Oh,
I
really?
thought, I just thought
Oh,
that he
okay,
had
yeah.
like a
I
speech
didn't
impediment,
know at
or
first.
he was going to.
Oh, as soon as I saw that guy, I was like, well,
Until
that's our
she-
robot.
she
Like,
touches
I
his
caught
neck,
it right away,
and you
man.
see the port
Yeah.
pop out. It's like,
That's- yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Oh,
Yeah, I didn't.
okay. Well, then, you know, I'm going to say good for them because I figured like that
No.
was like a super telegraphed thing.
The reason why the focus is more on them is Ridley Scott actually has kind of come out and said that that he sees this as, they're a man to machine or machine's evolution kind of thing. Ash and Bishop were true blue androids, like in a mechanical sense. David is closer to what are the replicants from Blade Runner, but David
right.
was more of a closer, machine with a soul than any of them.
So let me step in here. We've had discussions, Jason, regarding the biggest enemy to the Alien franchise, and that is Ridley Scott.
Absolutely, it's true. It's no doubt
His own worst enemy.
If you take Alien to its basic elements, it's a haunted house movie, and it's about a monster in a
Jaws in
confined
space.
It's a monster in a confined space with a final girl, right? It's not about the android. The sub story can be about the android.
Or if
but
anything, from one, it's he's the B plot. He's like the B
B-plot,
villain.
right? So if you focus your movie on the android, you've lost your way, and that's why these movies, in my mind, now I know that some people like Prometheus and Covenant, but you've lost your way, and it's the same with this movie. Yeah, we had Ash, and to me that was another distraction. How do you go backwards from Tarkin, from
Okay.
the Star Wars film?
So
It was so distracting.
Ian Holm died in 2020.
Yes.
I know, yeah.
How the heck did they get the rights for his likeness?
Oh, they just asked the family, man.
Money.
Yeah, they always go to
For
the
money,
family.
that's all
Yeah,
it
that's
was.
all it is. Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
He had a prestigious career. He didn't like make enough to make sure that they were well off to be like, oh no.
They needed another boat.
There's always a big enough check, man.
Sure.
Like, you can have a lot of money, but there's always like, oh,
Brian's
well,
right.
It's going to be this.
You go through Tarkin. Now, you've mentioned Tarkin from Rogue One. Is
Yeah.
that what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
Rogue
okay.
One.
All right. What's your,
How does it look worse?
What's your
is my
benchmark
question.
for the most accurate CG replicated or de-aging, I guess, or a replicated human?
I mean,
that
off the
they've
top
done?
of my head, we could think of. I'm trying to think of examples. We
Best
have
of.
Tron,
Luke
Legacy.
Skywalker.
Civil War Tony Stark, when he's in the
wow.
old flashback
That
scene.
might be
Harrison
the best.
Ford.
It's a really good. Harrison Ford in
Harrison
the new
Ford
one is
was
pretty good. Yeah,
I saw that
yeah.
scene. It was very serviceable. I still love that Tony Stark. You just reminded me of how good
Yeah,
that
it's-
was. Jay, you know I'm a huge Alien fan. That's my franchise. You know you're a Godzilla guy.
Yep.
We're both long-suffering franchisees.
Some more than others.
Yes.
You know what gives me hope is when I saw Godzilla minus one.
Yep.
Is it
minus
minus
one.
one?
Yeah.
In the theater, and it was just so good, man. And I'm waiting for my minus one.
Well, you had yours 50 years,
Well,
50 years ago.
1986. The reason I love Aliens, the other reason I love Aliens so much, is that the source material draws in auteur directors. I mean, look at the list is a murderer's row. You know, Ridley Scott,
David Fincher.
James
who's
Cameron.
my favorite director, James Cameron, and even Janot, who did the fourth movie. I don't know if you guys have seen
He's made good movies.
City of the Lost Children.
Yeah.
Beautiful movie.
There's
Yeah.
some really. Did he
I
do
haven't seen it in
Amelie?
about 20.
He did.
He did?
Amelie.
Man,
Yeah.
that one's great.
Yeah.
It got so many Oscar nominations. I don't think it won anything, but even Delicatessen, which is before City of the Lost Children, really good. I would suggest anybody go watch this. Granted, I haven't seen them in about 20 years, but I will say that I remember how stylistic they were as far as plot. I don't know. But my point is that the design of the alien and the whole mythos draws all of these directors in that are just incredible. I think we're at a point now where we're not getting that same draw. I just think I didn't see any artistic shots in this movie. I think so much stuff.
Well, there's not a cinematic quality to
No.
it, it seems.
It
at
didn't
all.
seem like it was
Some of those
storyboarded.
shots aren't like, grand space operatic kind
There
of
was
like
a
shots
lot of
or
flat
anything,
shots.
or
Yeah, it didn't. The cinematography didn't do a whole
they
lot.
chose
for me.
the worst kind of spaceship design that you could possibly think of to probably like I would have preferred seeing more shots of the Romulus
Sure.
station because it had a cool design versus the tugger that they're driving
Well, yeah,
around in.
And that's one of the things that confused me too. Was the little bit I knew about this movie, I'd read that there's two ships, and that's the whole analogy of Romulus and Remus is that there's two ships, one old and kind of new. I didn't really see that contrast. You walk into
No, there's
that
literally
lab,
they
divide.
play the audio
Yeah.
dialogue, the
And it's-
narration that comes over the PA for a second
That
or whatever,
whole
right?
thing
And
was
that's
a
it.
lot.
That's as
You
far
sort
as
of
it goes.
see it, and there's one quick shot where you see the exterior of it, and it looks like there's two halves of the station.
yes, but
There's
what's the
nothing.
point?
There's nothing
Oh, why do it?
thematically.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just naming it alien ship name.
I
is
should've
what
looked
this
it up.
movie
I
could have been.
intended-
You might as
it
well
had
just
no-
done that, right?
I
Yeah.
intended to look it up earlier, the myth, the actual Romulus and Remus myth, to see if it had some analogy that we're missing for it, but
Yeah, that feels again like a Ridley Scott note, as far as I'm
It
concerned.
could have been,
yeah.
just to keep the name Prometheus, that kind of thing.
kind of tied
Yeah,
into
Greek
it
god.
still. Yeah.
deeper meaning than it needs to be.
Like I said, everything in that movie was just kind of flat for me. The soundtrack was Like when did we transition to loud horn blasts? Wah! Like is that a soundtrack?
Yep.
You're coming from James Horner, Jerry Goldsmith, and now we've got horn blast.
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense. The only thing that worked for me, as I said,
ominous sound.
It's easy to do.
and maybe the CGI did nothing for me. I hated the effects themselves. I like some of the practical effects. The alien looked okay.
There's a lot of facehugger in this.
There was a lot of facehuggers. Some looked good, some looked kind of bad. I mean,
Yeah.
you could have had a drinking game for the amount of jump scare orchestra hits.
There's one
Bang,
in particular.
bang. It's like, come on.
When they're walking into
This isn't
that
Blumhouse.
when they're
Yeah.
when they're walking into that cryo room and all
They
of a
wish
sudden
it
there's
was
just a
Blumhouse.
spark. There's just a big old spark, electrical spark that goes off. That's like everything's dead quiet, and then that happens, and there's a jump, and it's like,
There were
is this
so
where we're
many.
at?
See, I don't even remember that. There were so many. I can't
This is
even.
the one that stuck out for me.
All right,
at
so I
least.
want to ask you, okay, you hit on, again, our loves of our franchises and how rewarded I was recently with -1,
Yeah.
which literally I can say was the movie that, like, it was in a different time period, but it was the movie that
Yeah.
I could even say that even as far back as like an 18, 19-year-old,
Yeah.
it was I just want someone to take this serious again
They did.
and make at least one more good one. So let me ask you, what do you want? What do you want?
I just said I want a haunted house with an alien
And
in a
that's it?
confined
And that's
space.
just where you want that to go back to?
That's
That's
what
it?
it needs to be.
100 million.
Listen, I haven't really. I'm not one of those fans that kind of sits around and thinks about, what's the perfect script, that kind of thing. I think about where Prometheus went wrong. I think about why did you make Covenant, right?
Yeah, sure.
But why haven't we brought them to Earth yet? Right? So that's the big thing.
Actually, we have, sir. It's called Alien vs. Predator.
Those
Well,
aren't canon.
Well,
no.
actually, let me ask you that. Okay, that's my. Okay.
No,
I haven't even
before
seen
that,
them all.
Before that, in Resurrections,
Okay.
they're going to Earth.
Wait,
In
and
Resurrections, there's a
It's
scene.
the very end.
Yeah, I
There's a
haven't seen it.
deleted scene. There's an alternate ending where Winona Ryder ends up on Earth.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
And-
how many Alien versus?
There's two Alien vs. Predators.
Two.
Okay, I saw
Yeah.
the first one.
There's Fist in the
Requiem.
Skull.
Yeah,
Requiem is
Obviously,
the-
that we all remember.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, my good old buddy, me and my boy Predator here, cleaning up shop.
High five.
High five, acid high five. All right.
I will say, I still love the effects in that movie. I love the aliens.
a lot
in
of them
that.
are practical.
Yeah.
Yes, and I love the Predator. He's so beefy in
Yeah.
that movie.
Yep.
He's
Yeah.
a
It's
beast.
They just
Yeah.
reversed his mouth, unfortunately.
Oh,
It's like
I forgot about
upside
that.
down.
I
kind
forgot
of.
about that. I still love the effects, and the Queen
Did you never
still
watch
stands out.
2?
I did not.
I think 2
So,
is
Requiem
kind of
is-
fun.
in
it's
Requiem,
not a
I'll
good
have to
movie.
check it out.
So the first one, they're in the
yeah.
Arctic.
It's
In Requiem, they're in like a small town. It's like Halloween, kind of. And
Oh, no.
it's just that he just comes across like wayward people that get in his way, and he's like trying to
no.
cover up the aliens and stuff.
It is. This
Oh,
guy
but
is
it's
got
literally
one of the
wolf.
funniest bits
Again,
ever.
The Predator
Yeah,
is
he's Winston
Alien. In the
Wolfe.
second one, he is the wolf from Pulp from Pulp Fiction.
Fiction.
He's just there,
Yep.
the cleanup
Yep.
guy,
He's the
cleaning up
cleanup.
evidence every time a xenomorph's taken care
What's
of.
his motivation?
I don't.
He's-
well,
he's
because
there to-
we're not supposed to know
Right.
about any of these
Oh,
things.
okay.
Somehow we get that out of all that, and then there's also
Well,
an
that's
alien
for
and
that
predator
movie.
hybrid in the middle of all that. Again,
I thought I knew about
listen,
that. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to tell you,
Pred alien.
I would say you'd have more fun watching that movie. At least I had fun watching
You
more
could-
so
Okay.
than
Yeah.
I
anything
will
I
check
just
it
did
out.
the other
You
night.
could turn your. It is a true blue horror though too. It's not got like a whole bunch of garbagey,
Sure.
sci-fi stuff like
Right.
setting up world building. It's just a group of teenagers and people that are just they just come across terribleness left and right.
Did you hate the cast and crew and like the characters that were in here?
Okay.
Like I understand, like so I
Throwaway.
understand the idea of like every movie in this genre is
Yeah.
like, well, we've got to make you care about them, so let's spend
Right.
some time and set. Like I totally understand that,
So-
but I also am struggling where I'm just like, all right, I got like, and maybe we're just spoiled, but like, if you're gonna take 35 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
you got to really give me something deep to get into there, and I don't think that I get it. Oh, they moved her quota, they moved the time.
Right.
The system is out to keep her, so she'll never be able to get out.
They're kind of stereotypes when you think about it.
Okay, so the way I looked at the cast, you know, I have a problem with younger casts, right?
You do, and sorry, but I always come back to
I get it.
I always come back to Cloverfield because you're like,
Looks like a
why
beer
is everybody
commercial.
young and beautiful and drinking a beer and
Yeah.
everything's
'Cause
fine?
it's New York.
And they were just missing their beers in this movie. Essentially, is what I thought. Not that they were all like drop dead gorgeous people,
No,
but
but
they were all.
They're Gen Zs, right?
Yeah, there you go.
So here's how I look at this. So you can take two approaches. One is the haunted house approach, right?
Yeah.
And that means you got to have a lot of young people. You got to think of it as a Jason movie or Friday the 13th, sorry. It's full of young, hateable. And we had that. You want to see these people drop off. You see the guy that's punching the
yeah.
android.
That's why
You're
it's
like, I want to see
stereotypes.
that guy die. I hate that guy.
I get you.
Right?
I got
That guy,
you. Yeah.
you've got your,
There's always
your
that
pregnant
guy.
girl, you've got your, sympathetic girl, you've got the other one who was the pilot and she didn't really
You got
do anything.
a lot of wooden acting that they didn't flesh any of that out. But if you're going a slasher route, I get it. These people are expendable. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you're building a legacy, so let's say that they meant for this movie to be the new Ripley, and you're going to build from here.
Sure.
Man, they
This
sure
isn't
wanted
the
her to be.
cast. This isn't the way you approach it. You have to have a mature cast. A mature cast gives you this weight, this gravitas that gives your movie some lived-in feel, and they just didn't go that route. And based on that, I gave the movie a chance, right? I thought, okay, they're going to go the Friday the 13th route.
Sure.
They're going to kill these people.
That's
Why
fine,
they
right?
picked actors who had the thickest British accent, I couldn't understand every fifth word.
Yeah,
I was
that's
so
true.
lost.
That's
Yeah.
true. The guy, her ex-boyfriend and his
Oh
cousin,
my.
hearing them talk to each other is, especially when they're on comms,
It
and
was
it's
bad,
like,
yeah.
you need subtitles for that. It's
You do.
difficult. I didn't even
It
know
was
what
a
his
poor
name
choice.
was until the very end, where I was like, oh, it's Bjorn. Oh, okay. But
Yeah,
I thought they were calling him something totally different.
It was a poor choice. So, I mean, honestly,
remember it all.
you don't want some, muley, mousy, just kind of stumbling through.
Well, see, that's the funny thing then when you compare it. If they were trying to do a direct interpretation or recreation of the Ripley scenario, is that they were all just truckers in a spaceship. Like, she was just doing her job and then found the drive to survive, essentially. So, like, I don't know why. You know what would have been great? At the end of it, she dies, and then the pregnant girl is the one who ends up surviving. She kicks the crap out of her own alien
Sure.
baby. That would have been a great, twist.
And then staples her stomach together
'Cause-
because, you got to repeat what you've already done.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Right?
that came out of her stomach. That's not, you're
Well,
not
that's
stapling
true.
that.
That's true. I would have taken anything. What is it? Numi Rapace
Numi
Yeah.
Rapace was
ha-
in.
was
yeah.
the great Ripley.
I thought she did really. She
that
was
was
the
your
highlight
legacy.
of that
That-
first movie, of
and
that
then-
Prometheus movie.
That's
man.
the
Totally.
grit
Yeah.
that you're looking for.
Yeah.
When she's in that tank and she's got the
Stapling herself up and
that's
everything or
the
whatever,
grit.
right?
That's what you want. The cast just was a total miss for me. And if he would have played more on the slasher aspect, and it kind of did, but it just didn't work for me. I don't think they respected the science fiction aspect of it. There's just too many logic failures. You got the android robot standing directly on a xenomorph, shooting it while delivering a one-liner, yet acid is nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
On that elevator.
You know what I
Yeah,
chuckled? So the other thing
right
that got
below
me
it where
was
the vacuum of space
when the
exists.
guy was running and carrying, he had pulled her out of the wall,
Yeah.
and they're running to try and get to that door before it closes. I'm like, why isn't the android carrying the
Good
girl?
point.
Right?
That's
like,
true.
like
Yeah.
it's just like it doesn't care,
He
right?
should be
You
doing
guys
a
have
lot of
made
stuff.
very
Yeah.
clear that you understand that it doesn't care. to
Multiple
be a
situations.
mule, right?
Yep.
Like so
And
many moments
yeah.
like that where it's just like, you guys aren't very smart, are
Yep.
you?
Multiple times he shows that he has super strength, and then
Yeah.
there's
That was
moments
another
where he's
beef.
like,
Right.
he chooses not to use it. Like,
Yeah.
if you go back and you look, Ash basically did this some kind of like claw move.
Yeah,
And it wasn't super strength.
What's his name?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the crew.
Shoot. I can't remember, but really no display of superhuman strength.
Yeah.
Shoot. From Aliens, the android.
Bishop.
Didn't really see anything there. He had a lot of stuff. He was
Super
crawling
speed.
through the pipes.
Yeah.
He had that.
He does the hand
We
thing.
didn't really see a display of strength. He had opportunities. So I don't know if this is like the Leia effect where she, or Rey, where she just can pull powers out of the air and they multiply every time you see her. I don't know if that's what's going on, but it was distracting. I'm trying to think. There were other instances where you're just kind of scratching your head.
All right, so there's a shot, and it's a very famous shot, right? So in this movie, and they recreate it, you've got the girl, she's under the graded catwalk, the aliens above her, right?
Yeah.
Very iconic scene that they're recreating and all that stuff. I can tell you guys that I remember as a child taking Dad's bootleg VHS off the shelf and starting that movie on my own for whatever reason way too late. And I saw that. And let me tell you,
Just that
I
scene.
was terrified. And again, so is there just something where and as I watched them recreated in this movie, it was like, I wish they could find a way to make me feel that as an adult.
We're just desensitized, I think.
Well, I understand we're desensitized, but again, there's a lot of creative people out there.
How'd Jake handle with this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think there's a drought, though, and let me just say that I think that the position we're in 2024, Hollywood has an adversarial relationship with its audience, at least for me. And I know that there's a lot of YouTube stuff that agrees. Like, I'm so cynical with movies right now that
Is it
you're
because
gonna
the
have-
movies, or is it because you are more cynical?
No, it's totally me, but it didn't come from
it
just
didn't come from nothing.
age and
It's
bitterness.
been there. Yeah, he's been brought to this point.
Yeah,
and it's fair.
I've been
fair.
disappointed over and over, and it's not just Aliens, it's everything. But I think to win an audience back, you're going to have to figure that out. These people get paid a lot of money to come up with these ideas, man. And like you're saying, there's just nothing there. There's some set pieces and some things you're just like, oh, that's so cool. But
What's
there's,
one thing you remember from Covenant?
I didn't like Covenant. I don't remember
you name
anything
anything?
about it.
I can remember something from Covenant. The worst, literally the worst. And this says a lot for this franchise because there's been a lot of bad shots in this franchise. Sorry,
No.
but
I agree.
it's the little xenomorph thing that runs around in the field and all that stuff. It's the worst looking thing on the planet.
It's not that bad. Alien 3's got
Alien
some really
3's
bad
Well,
shots.
look, I know Alien 3 has really rough stuff, but
Yeah.
they're trying to pioneer and innovate. And
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
And it's super early, and so I give that grace because of that.
That's
At
the
least they're
problem.
trying, right?
Is that back
this
then-
movie, Alien Covenant, has a crazy budget in
Yeah.
a time where there are crazy resources available to
Well-
make clean visual effects, and that's what they came with. One of the things that I think in Disney is the worst, and any production house that falls under Disney pretty much is going to fall victim to this, pretty much as far as what I think and what I can tell for the most part anyway.
Everything they acquired, then yes.
They want to keep that budget so tight, and they want to turn that profit, and it's all about that quarterly earning, right? So as a result, a lot of great shots in a lot of older movies that we love have just establishing shots. They're not there to do anything other than to just kind of sell you on the world that you're viewing and occupying in this story, right?
Yeah.
And it is completely absent. And
It's
pretty
cookie
much
cutter.
It is in everything, because in their mind, they've got a giant storyboard of 300 visual effects shots, and they go, well, these 40 don't involve any actors. They don't have any action set pieces. They don't really do much of anything other than occupy 5 seconds. Let's cut all of that out.
I thought there were plenty of shots in Prometheus that
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's what was funny is that's what kind of where I was going to circle back around to, which was like,
running in a straight line.
I know, and we all have, it's all fun and games and everything, but there are times in Prometheus where it is just, we're taking a moment. We're just going to show this frame just to kind of give you a sense of the planet we're on and the scale of things, right?
Well, Ridley Scott still has like cinematic bones to him.
That is a beautiful movie.
Still,
it is a beautiful
That's
movie.
the shame.
A lot of
that
his
movie.
stuff that like Gladiator is kind of the perfect period piece movie.
I like Gladiator.
I don't remember Gladiator, and that's the thing with modern Hollywood is I don't remember it. I'm in there just to preface. I just started Aliens with my son before we started this, and I'm reciting lines to the point where he's telling me to be quiet.
Shut up, Dad.
There is no way I could recite any line from any movie I've seen in the last, I don't know, 10 to 15 years.
Because everything that comes out of Bill Paxton's mouth is gold.
What are you
It is
talking
gold.
about? In Alien cover, in that Prometheus movie, I'm pretty sure there's a line that it's just like, hey, Idris Elba, you want to go get it on? And that's how it goes. And they're like, yeah, we don't need to be paying attention or anything. There's nothing important going on here. Let's
Well, who can forget
let's
where
go bunk off for a bit,
where
right?
he walks
So,
into the room and just spouts that, okay, I figured it out.
the problem, yes.
Here it is. I know
Allow
I'm just a
me-
driver.
Allow me to distribute this information to you.
I figured it out.
Going back to like the nostalgia aspect of it, like nostalgia for nostalgia's sake is one thing, but nostalgia is for us. Like it's for a certain degree of the movie going audience and stuff. That's why those lines exist. That's why those like shots that resemble aliens, you know, coming out of the elevator and everything. But like for a younger audience that isn't
It won't
that
do
is-
anything. for
yeah,
them.
so like it's just a line. Like why even try then if it's your half your audience isn't even going to recognize it?
So your daughter didn't sound like she was super
She did
pumped.
not like it.
And I can say that I know my son, like he was just like, yeah, Dad, that just didn't do a whole lot for me.
Because
So
it's
again,
so built on reference to what's come before. It like
Yeah.
can't stand on its own.
But my kids have seen those movies, and it still did not resonate. And Jake, I could tell, Jake is my son. He saw the movie. He's 11. He wanted to like that movie.
I think he really did want to like that movie.
He's got a long
Yeah.
way to go, and I think that's what is so disappointing about these new movies is he's looking for something to grasp onto, and he just can't find it.
Well, it's oversaturation too. Like no kid isn't going to attach themselves to Andor. Jake has like a plethora of things to probably access. Like where do you start? You can't just like refer unless you just refer back to the old stuff.
But it's not
I
about
think it's kids that they just don't hang on to things like that anymore like we used to. And it'll be interesting. Like you have Transformers and you have Alien, right? And I have Godzilla, right? Like what will be the thing that sticks with them? All right. So Brian, well, Trent, let's start with you. So for starters, would you stub or not to stub as far as would you recommend this to somebody?
This is hard.
Is it?
Give it a number and whether or not they should go buy a movie ticket.
7.7.
7.7.
That's a number.
So to me, if I hear 7.7, that's a movie that I would recommend somebody to go see.
yeah.
You could
Do you feel that way?
I have no doubt that you could see it and then get some kind of enjoyment or some kind of terror out of it, some thrill.
Well, you're not wrong. Look, I'll tell you, the guys that we went with, they all enjoyed it. Sure. Like they all like walked out and were like, "Yeah, that was really, that was cool." You know what I mean? And I get what you're saying. Like
The
for
Tim Davis
for
approach.
a casual, see, I don't
Would
know.
have been.
I think Dad would be like, "Yeah, it's all right." Dad's gotten a little more critical, I'd say, over the last few years because again, he sat this one out where before it would have been a lock, right?
Oh,
So
yeah, that's surprising.
yeah. All right, so 7.7.
It's not a bad, but it's not like like for me.
Does it need to
For
be
me-
seen on a big screen?
It could be a Hulu.
Is
This
it-
could have been a
So
Prey.
this
That's
could
an
have been a
important
TV screen. So this is an
distinction.
important question, right? Like, because some movies can be good, but watchable at home, and you don't lose anything.
Cinematically, I don't think that you need a big screen for this.
Okay, well, there you go. All right, so 7.7. I think you're saying to stub. I think you're
Where's
saying
your
yes.
baseline? Is it 5 and up, or is it below?
look, I could give it a 2, but if it's so awful that you have to go out and see it right away, I'll give it a 2 and say you gotta go. So again, there's no margins as far as that.
If you care about the franchise, I'd say go see it.
Okay.
But if you don't, then you could wait.
Uncle Megalon.
So, did you hear the theater as we were watching? In particular, the people behind us.
They were having a hoot.
They were loving it.
They were loving it, buddy. They were chewing it up. They were chewing. Absolutely. Yes.
They were gasping.
Yes.
They laughed at the most infamous line in the movie, which kind of,
They said
made
the
me
thing.
choke.
They said the thing. Well, again, you can't be like, have you guys seen these before?
Yeah,
You ever
do
seen
you know
Alien?
that-
Like
Maybe that's the baseline. Maybe it's like, oh, I know of it, but I don't know it well enough to actually care.
I should have turned and asked them. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, we love Covenant, and we love the one that was before Prometheus. Those were good. We've been looking forward to see where
even better
We've been really looking forward to see where this goes.
Even better is if they mispronounce it. Prometheus or
Yeah.
Prometheus.
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 So,
I really enjoy Alien Prometheus.
wrangling this back in.
Wrangle it back
I
in.
would say that if someone's asking me whether they should see this movie or not, they know how I feel about the movie.
Yeah.
I would give it a 5. I would say not to Stub because,
As it hurts your soul to say.
well, even as far as like trying to remove myself from the fandom, there just wasn't enough science fiction realism, I guess. I know it's a weird thing to say, but common sense, I think, if you're a science fiction fan, it's not going to do it for you. If you're a horror fan, I don't think it's going to do it.
It's not enough horror.
No.
It's
It
definitely
doesn't
not.
really.
Unless you really like
Did
jump
you
scares.
feel-
Well, that's what I said. Again, as I watched it all, it just nothing. I
Did you
felt
feel
nothing
tense in
throughout the
that
whole
face hugger scene?
thing. No.
No.
I didn't feel tension for one single second, man, in that whole movie.
All right, Jay, you didn't give your opinion. Stub or no stub.
and that's fine. Yeah.
Well, did you get a ranking? Was it a yes
Did
or
you give
no?
it so,
Oh, I did
so
not.
No stub, and then what's your number?
I would say
you said
a 5.
You said
I
5.
would say
right?
a 5, and if we spoke a little bit about normies behind us.
Yeah.
If Fred came, Fred is your uncle and my best friend. If he came up and asked me, hey man, should I see this movie?
He did ask me last night when I saw
Did he
him.
really?
Yes, he did.
I would just say, hey man, wait for it to come home. You don't need to pay money for this. So
Okay, that's fair, and I think that's a great barometer as far as how to approach that question. For me, nothing enough cinematically. Like it wasn't fun enough for me to say, you gotta go. Like I've said a couple of times throughout this whole thing, like this movie left me with an overwhelming sense of nothing.
It exists.
It's certainly there.
It's a
It was
movie.
certainly a thing that I sat through for an hour and a half or an hour 40 or
I think
I don't
it
even
was
know how
over 2
I
hours.
don't know how long it was. I think you guys are pretty close. I would say 5.2 somewhere around there. Like it just again
Wait
it
for streaming.
wasn't so awful that it was like an absolute
Train wreck.
Yeah, it wasn't a train. Like it was just like it's just very uninspired.
It does
It's
some
just
interesting
uninspired.
things. There's certain things that it does interesting. It just doesn't.
Not enough.
It doesn't
All right,
stick the
so-
landing. It's
Yeah.
Uncle Megalon, Brian. I made a summer movie preview episode,
Okay.
and I said, well, there's more crap in the Alien franchise than there's good.
Yep.
And you came to me and you said, that seems really harsh for a guy who loves Star Wars.
That's true.
You probably like more Star Wars than Alien at this point in time. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that you don't love. I'm not saying you prefer
No,
Star
I know what
Wars.
you're saying.
But I'm saying
hey,
if you look
if you
at
include-
We tally the
if you
numbers.
tally the numbers,
if you include Alien Predator, they're equal.
I
Okay.
just-
I mean, if we're going by numbers, you got 77, right? You got
Yep.
Empire. I
Yep.
like both of those. I do not like Return.
okay.
I do not like any of the prequels.
Oh, you don't like
I
even
do
Revenge
not
of the
like.
Sith?
I will. Yes, I do not. No.
Okay.
I do like Rogue One. And do you remember when we were like two of the only people who
Yes.
liked Rogue One?
Yes.
And now it's becoming kind of a thing to like Rogue
Everybody's like,
One.
this is the best thing. Yeah.
Now,
this
is
the
that going to
greatest thing.
happen? I don't want to derail, but is that going to happen with the Superman movie that you and I like and no one else likes?
I hope so. I hope everyone comes around
What,
on
Man of Steel?
eventually.
No, it's
Yeah.
not Man of Steel that people have come around on. It's Henry Cavill.
No,
People-
I'm
yeah,
saying
but we are like feel like the only defenders
liked
of
it.
that movie. Like,
I like that movie.
Yeah, yeah.
We're waiting
Michael
for
Shannon
the rest
is
of the
great
world.
in it.
He's
There's a lot
incredible.
to like about it. The only thing not to like is what's her face playing Lois Lane.
All right, so look, you
That didn't bother me.
so you
she's
gave
there.
me 3 Star
Okay.
Wars movies that you like.
Right.
I feel like you enjoyed The Force Awakens when you first saw it.
Or do the sequels?
Force Awakens actually wasn't bad. I won't say
Yeah.
I love that movie.
That's fair. Yeah.
But-
even though it is a retread of New Hope.
That's okay. That's okay, man.
It's kind of because this was the first time they did it in that format, and everything is just kind of murdered that format. You know, like stop, he's dead.
Are you
know,
saying-
that's what's happened? He's already dead. That's what's happened.
So you're
right?
saying
Like,
that Abrams broke the mold of retreads?
he did.
He was the perfect guy for
he
that.
unlocked a new way to do a reboot. And it was like, and then it made almost $2 billion or whatever, or it did make $2 billion, whatever it did, made crazy money. And then everybody on the planet was like, all right, let's dust off the old IPs, right?
So coming
So go
from
ahead.
a Star Wars like you guys are Star Wars fans. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you both like that movie? Do you
What,
both
Force
like
Awakens?
Yes.
I like Last Jedi better.
What?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. This is we're
Ew.
Last Jedi guys. Like, to me, if it were up to me, Star Wars would have ended with Last Jedi. I'd never see
far
that
as I'm
Rise of
concerned, it
Skywalker.
did.
What don't you like about that first movie?
No, I like.
No,
No,
it's-
no.
it's-
Oh,
If,
As
if- in a ranking out of the Disney sequels,
Yeah.
Last Jedi is top.
Yeah. I will say this. I remember walking out of The Force Awakens, and I was disappointed. Like, the first time I watched it, and I think because I went in with so much,
It's
like,
Phantom Menace all over again.
I wanted that
Sure.
I wanted that adventure
Yeah.
with my old friends one more time that they never
Yeah.
gave us, right?
Dude,
and-
that trailer hits so
Oh,
hard.
it's so hard on the
You see
nostalgia.
Chewie and Han,
Yeah.
and that's like, man, I want that.
yeah.
See, I'm not as invested.
too bad that
I
that
get
sure
that.
didn't happen.
I
But
get it. I thought
as
it was
I
fun.
as I watched it more,
Yeah.
like by the third time I saw it in the theaters, like within 2 weeks, I was like, all right, I'm picking up what this thing's
It's
putting down.
safe.
And
It's
yeah,
safe.
It is super safe.
But there's also
if we're
happens.
tallying numbers to go back,
Yeah, I was gonna say, Star Wars enjoyment level count versus Alien enjoyment
so
level.
let's see. What did I say? I said 77. I said Empire. I said
Rogue One,
Rogue
and then
One.
and then I kind of talked you into
Everything else does
Force
exist.
Awakens.
I could
of-
even probably go Force Awakens, even though I haven't seen that movie probably since it came out.
yeah.
We'll say 4, right?
Okay.
We'll say 4.
Yeah.
That is that how you do them? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Or am I ranking?
No,
okay.
don't rank Star
Okay.
Wars. That's
So if we look at Aliens, 1, of course, I love. 2, of course, I love. 3. Okay. So I fell asleep. Confession time. I fell asleep in the movie theater watching. 3.
In 1992.
oh my
Yes,
gosh.
I was at a local mall, and I was watching, and I'd stayed up really late. I was so pumped for this movie.
Yeah.
I will say the pace of that movie is slow, and I hated it when I saw it. But revisiting that movie, I like Alien 3.
That's okay.
There's things I don't like about it, of course.
Did you see the extended cut?
Yeah, the assembly
Yeah,
cut. Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I won't say I love it, but I like it better than
the
the
original
version that everyone has seen, which I do still like.
It fills in the
Okay.
gaps for a
Okay.
lot of things that doesn't make sense.
And we haven't even talked about the studio interference on that movie. Well, I don't
Well,
think we
no,
have to
that's-
because
yeah, no,
everybody
it's
knows
all out
about
there.
it.
Everybody knows. Yeah.
So, 4, I do not like. I thought it was just a step too far. I'm going to skip over Prometheus. I'm going to go right to Covenant. I did not like Covenant. I saw that with you, Jay.
Yep.
Trent, I can't remember.
Yeah, I
did
was
you
there.
go with this?
yeah.
because it was the
It was
disappointment.
We went.
boring.
and
I
had-
thought
we
you
had
were.
Raising Cane's afterwards,
We
and it was
did.
just us
And
cursing.
that was better than
like,
the movie.
It was better than the
As
movie.
I told
yeah.
you
Oh, yeah,
when you
yeah.
asking me about tickets for this one, I was like, Brian's going again? I thought he was done after Covenant.
Yeah.
You gotta give it a chance, man. And of course, this movie is a no-go for me. I did not like it. But Prometheus.
Oh, you've watched it a lot, I know.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Yes.
I have a
Yes.
complicated, and Jason knows all about this.
It's a love-hate relationship.
No, well, yes. Okay, so Prometheus could have been my perfect alien movie, right?
Yeah.
I love the scientific aspects of it. I love the lore of it. I love the new aspect where they're bringing in the infamous black goo. I like it, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of Aliens fans don't.
The cast is better.
The cast is
that
awesome.
cast is incredible.
Dude.
Yeah.
You're talking about
There's a lot to love
Fifield.
there.
If I can remember their names, of course, Noomi Rapace, the guy you're supposed to hate, her husband, or he's so hateable, right? And then David, awesome, right?
Fassbender
Amazing.
kind of made those movies.
Oh.
It's unfortunate that they didn't.
He
He makes that
overshadowed.
first movie, and
But
the
that's-
second movie,
That's
I
Ridley
hated
Scott's
what
fault.
they did with
though.
it. And
That's
it is
Ridley Scott's
It's not
fault.
him
He
as an
focused-
actor, right? Totally, I'm with you.
So I love that movie, but I can't say that I would put it on my list
Even
because of Lindelof, right?
Yeah.
And Ridley Scott had a hand in this too. Ridley Scott had the final say, but those decisions to change the moon, I'm gonna have an aneurysm if we go into this.
Have you thought about
No,
the
we can't-
logistics
we
of
can't.
how they get to LV
Dude.
2227 or 228?
This is the one movie that I thought, okay, I have it in my mind how it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
And they went so far astray from it, and it could have been so good. That's the thing that frustrates me so much about Prometheus is.
Are you
it
talking
could have
about like it lining up directly with Alien?
Yes, and it could have just been so good. I love the deacon at the end. I love the engineer and the fight. People complain that, there's not enough xenomorphs in that movie, but I don't need that. I love the lore. I love the story.
As a proto alien kind
Yeah.
of like, I can totally get it.
This was the springboard for that movie. So this was the Alien, right?
Yeah.
And then we were expecting the Cameron version to come after because he set up the table, right?
Yeah.
And the next one was going to be the one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it just didn't happen.
I will
Eh,
say this: Prometheus was the most excited I have ever been about anything
Yeah.
in the Alien franchise before it came out, and then obviously we all went and saw it.
It was so close, and it's just so disappointing. But to answer your question, I can't even remember the tally. So it was
4 to 3.
79,
It's
86.
Yeah.
That's a win. 3 for me. I've learned to like it,
yeah.
It's forced you to love it.
but I can't put Prometheus on that list.
Okay.
So
So what is it?
technically,
Is it
you are
adjacent?
correct, sir. He has me on this one where Star Wars would technically, win in that battle. That's sad to say. too.
You're just saying win out of ones you like versus the other side.
Well,
of
it
the
was
ones you
it was essentially
it's winning by attrition.
He was defending his love, and I totally understand this. I took a shot at it. He was like, "Hey, I didn't like that. I didn't like how that made me feel.
Stop it.
I identify with that, and I don't like it." And then so
Stop forcing me to
Would
like
I go
things.
back and watch Force Awakens? Nah.
All right, guys, that is where I decided to wrap things up. As you heard, had a lot of things to say about Alien Romulus as well as the franchise in general. Then, of course, we spun into many other things. This is kind of like a preview of what it's like to do any post-movie conversation with me and my family. These roundtables are kind of legendary, though, so it was great to get to bring one to you so you guys can kind of hear what it's like. A lot of people tell me they're like, this is just like sitting at the table with you after seeing a movie, listening to what you got to say. It's great. So hopefully we'll have some more chances to do these in the future. So that's all I've got for now, guys. More reviews will be coming up soon. I think I might even go see that awesome Borderlands movie I keep hearing all about. Borderlands. I don't know where that came from. So, all right, guys, for now, have a great one. S-T-U-B-S spells Stubs. Stubs.
Stubs, all done.